Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Week 5 update on my NFL predictions. Before anything, two things. One that's very clear at the current moment, and that's the fact that I'm trying to liven things up a little bit by not just having me analyze everything. I'm using currently the Thursday Night Football NFL Network Thursday Night Football theme song. No rights to that whatsoever to me. That all those rights go completely to the NFL Network, the NFL, and all other associates with them. So, other than that, I will also make mention of the fact that last week I made an incorrect statement saying that I went 12-4 in my predictions, not accounting for the fact that the Packers and Eagles were on bye, so there were only 15 matches, which meant that 12-4 would have been 16, but because those two teams were off, there should have been only a total of 15 games accounted for. So because of which, I apologize for that. On week 4, I was 11-4. That's still a really good positive. Week 5, I went 8-6. Still positive, but not as much, and hopefully things can be a little more consistent, I hope. But, yeah. The 6 games that I had called incorrectly were the 49ers-Cardinals game, the Falcons-Broncos game. I don't think anyone saw that one coming. The Panthers-Buccaneers game, the Colts and Bears game, I believe I had incorrect. The Eagles and Lions game, I definitely had incorrect. And the one other game that I had incorrectly called was, I'm just looking at the moment to be 1% sure. I think that may have been it, actually. So yeah, it was those games that I had incorrect. If I'm wrong, you just tell me in the comments. But anyhow, so here's the rest of the analysis chart and everything for playoffs and whatnot. One small other change too I made. You've noticed through the rest of these that I have marked in light blue on the chart international games that are played outside of the continental U.S. As for the Super Bowl, I've decided to put that into a dark blue to show that it is not within the home stadium of either of the two teams that are going to the Super Bowl in my predictions. And speaking of which, this is how it looks. As far as results go, I believe the Cardinals are still going to not fare well by going 6-10. And I'm just going to skip over the teams I believe are going to go to the playoffs and then get to them last. So Cardinals, I believe, are going to go 6-10. The Baltimore Ravens, I believe, will go 4-12. The Panthers, I had them so high before. Last week, I didn't have them going into the playoffs despite having an 11-5 record from what I predicted. But what I saw in the match between them and the Buccaneers, I have to give them a 5-11. It doesn't look strong for Carolina, period, at the moment. Something's wrong there. And even though it was Derek Anderson who was the quarterback and not Cam Newton, that still doesn't excuse that performance, especially against the Buccaneers of all teams. Let's see here. The Chicago Bears. Unfortunately, I can only see you guys going 1-15. That win up against Detroit, you guys got really lucky, and I mean really lucky. But after seeing the Colts beat them, I can't see them getting any more wins. I just can't. The other teams are going up against, including Detroit for a second time in Week 14, I believe is going to prove to be too much for them. I mean, even if they get Jay Cutler, if they get Danny Trevathan, if they get all these guys back, I'm still not seeing that much light for this team. So 1-15, unfortunately, for Chicago at the moment. We'll see what happens. Cincinnati Bengals. Every single week I've had them going into the playoffs just barely. This week that is not the case. I believe they can go positive with a 9-7 record, but it will not be enough to push them into the playoffs this time. Unless they can prove me wrong, that's what I'm predicting. Cleveland Browns. I'm giving you guys a 2-14 for this specific reason. I think the Titans are strong enough to beat the Browns at this point, and the Browns are having such a terrible problem with injuries, unfortunately, that it's going to be hard for them to get any win whatsoever. But I give them the win versus the Jets and the Ravens for a reason. The Jets just can't stop messing up badly. They have a weird problem with that. And now that Eric Decker is potentially out for the rest of the season with a dislocated shoulder or cup rotator, something like that, I can't remember exactly what the injury was, but because he might be out for the rest of the season, that just took away one of Ryan Fitzpatrick's reliable targets. So that being the case, I think the Browns might have a chance of beating them. I'm probably wrong about that. But then we look at Week 10 up against the Ravens. The Ravens got lucky in Week 2. I think the Browns are not going to let them get off at usually Week 10. So that being the case, 2-14, not a complete shutout for the season for the Browns, but let's see. Next up, like I said, I'm skipping teams that are going to the playoffs. I'll get to them later. The Detroit Lions, I can only see a 4-12 for them. The Indianapolis Colts, 3-13 in what's possibly going to be the worst division out of all of them this season. 3-13 because they got that lucky win off of both the Chargers and the Bears. I can only see them getting another lucky win, but that'll be it. They don't seem like they're well organized yet. They seem to have only good sparks at the end of games, but not helping themselves in the beginning. Then comes Jacksonville Jaguars. I can only see a 6-10. They showed life up against the Colts in London, but they need to start showing more life up against some other teams. And this week is going to show me up against the Bears, which is a weaker team. If not weaker, at least the same level as the Jaguars. But I need to see what happens there. If the Jags win, then I think the 6-10 will stand. If they lose, they may go lower in my prediction, but we'll see what happens. Then comes the Kansas City Chiefs. I only see a 7-9. The team is not holding together well. Los Angeles Rams. I can only see a 6-10. They are very unpredictable. I can't figure this team out by any stretch of the imagination. And I mean, they went up against the Bills and they lost to them by a close margin, I think. But it's just hard to predict this team. So until I see something constant, it's going to stay negative as far as I can tell. Let's see here. Miami Dolphins, 2-14. This team can't keep it together. Tannehill, I believe, is a good quarterback. But at the same time, what is he doing? This team can't keep himself together for that long. I mean, look at what almost happened up against the Browns. They almost lost to them in overtime. It's a weird case with the Dolphins, so I can only predict a 2-14, but I think even the Jets eventually will beat them. And I said eventually because Week 9 I think Dolphins can get them. Week 15 I think is different. Let's see here. Next up would be the New Orleans Saints. I think they can go 9-7, but not make it into playoffs with that positive range. They are consistent offensively, but the defense is consistently terrible. That's all I can say. New York Giants. I don't like to say this. I really don't. But after that performance up against the Packers, they don't seem well organized on either side of the ball. So I can only say that we can go with 8-8, a neutral. But we are probably going to be the worst team in our division at this rate until we get something put together, especially with our run game, since we are having a huge problem with that due to injuries. Until we can fix that issue, we're just in trouble of not doing crap this season. New York Jets. 4-12. You guys keep just dropping everything. This team is a serious problem, and until they can organize, I can't see them going anywhere near positive. Oakland Raiders. Oh, sorry. Playoff team. I should move on. Until I get to them. San Diego Chargers, 7-9 is what I'm seeing. This team, until they can really put together themselves and not lose the way that they've been losing. I mean, a missed tying field goal snap. That is something you learn in training camp. Seriously? That was just disgusting to look at. Until they get together a little better, the Chargers are not going to have a positive season. I can guarantee you that. Next up, San Francisco 49ers, I believe, are going to go 5-11. Simply put, the team is still not well organized. Even after that matchup against the Cardinals, they looked like they were there at times with Blaine Gabbert, but now they're going to be starting Colin Kaepernick in Week 6 up against the Bills. So there's just a whole bunch of questions as to, is Colin going to be able to, help this team out a little bit to do a little better? I don't know. Even in preseason, I don't think we got a really good idea of what Colin could do. So we're just left in limbo. Tampa Bay Bucks, 3-13. You guys got a lucky break up against the Panthers, and you guys have Brent Grimes more than anybody to thank for that. But from that point on, it's a tough road for them. I don't see them getting any other win except up against the Bears, possibly. Tennessee Titans, 7-9. This is a team that's looking a lot better organized. I like the way this team is operating at the moment. And even though it's not a positive record, I think the Titans actually have a chance at beating a lot of the weaker teams that they're going to be going up against this season. And then finally we have the Washington Redskins, who will be 8-8 and neutral from what I'm predicting. That is the same record as the Giants, but I think they're going to actually be a little better than us. Despite that. I don't like saying that, but I can't be biased on my own team. So, like I said, I think we're going to be the worst. I think Redskins are going to be just right above us. Now the playoffs teams. I'm going to start first off with teams that I believe will lose in the wild card round, and also teams who are going to have the byes in those rounds. And that being the case, Atlanta Falcons, I believe, are going to be the number 1 seed in the NFC and get a bye in the wild card round. As for the second seed in the NFC, I believe that will be the Minnesota Vikings. And then from that point, the number 1 seed in the AFC, I believe, will be the Patriots. And then number 2 seed in the AFC, I believe, will be the Steelers, finally not having to deal with the wild card round. Now, as for the teams I believe will lose in the wild card round, the first ones would be the Denver Broncos up against the Bills. Broncos defense is without question one of the best in the league, if not the best in the league. But the way the Falcons shredded them, I think the Bills can in fact do the same thing to them in the playoffs. And the reason I say that is not because I believe the Bills have that strong an offense. I believe their defense is starting to get on a higher level that can push them even up against the Broncos. That's what I'm believing here. Then the second team in the AFC to be eliminated in the wildcard round would be the Houston Texans, the only team from the AFC South, up against the Raiders. The Texans' defense is looking bad. Their offense is looking unprogressive. They don't have much working for them at the moment, and they can only make it to the playoffs with an 8-8, a neutral score of all things. I mean, we've seen negatives make it there, but I just don't see that much with the Texans that would prove to me that they could beat anybody in the playoff period. NFC, I believe the Dallas Cowboys will be able to beat the Seattle Seahawks. in the wild card round. So that being said, the Seahawks being the only team in the NFC West to go to the playoffs in my predictions, I believe will not stand a chance up against the Cowboys, because whether they use Romo, whether they use Prescott, to me it doesn't matter. That team is going to be a strong team by the end of this season. I'm pretty sure they're going to stick with Dak until he gets injured and then use Romo, except for week 8 where they're going to bring in Romo. But either way, no matter who is quarterback, they're both strong, they're both smart, they're both good enough to beat Seattle. Not just the offense, but their defense as well. Then comes the second one of the NFC, which would be the Philadelphia Eagles versus the Packers. I think the Packers are going to get them. That was a weird loss that the Eagles took up against the Lions of all teams. And because of which, despite the fact that the Eagles are going to be the second best team in the NFC East with a 12-4 record, up against the Packers, who will be 13-3, just a little more, but not enough to be number 1 in their division, I think the Packers will beat the Eagles. You show that kind of weakness, Packers will take advantage quickly. So there is that. Then comes divisional round. I will say first the teams I believe will lose in the divisional round. First we go to AFC, which I believe the Steelers will be able to defeat the Buffalo Bills. I mean, just look at what the Steelers are. They didn't show this up against the Eagles. I'm still confused as to why. I'm pretty sure it's because of underestimating fatigue and probably just those two alone, but more underestimation of the team than anything. But they're not going to make that mistake again. I believe the Bills will not be able to withstand anything the Steelers can throw at them, literally and figuratively, and that would mean the Bills would not make it past the divisional round. Then would be the Raiders up against the Patriots. I mean, just think about that. Raiders' defense is looking great, their offense is looking good, but up against the Patriots with Tom Brady or even Jimmy Garoppolo for that matter, no matter which one of those two, I'm sorry. And they got Gronk back. They have Bennett's. The Patriots are just a tough team. Even the Raiders won't be able to beat them in the divisional match. That's what I can conclude at the moment. Then as for AFC, I believe the Dallas Cowboys will lose to the Falcons, despite the fact that I believe the Cowboys will be a very tough team offensively against them. I think the Falcons will be even more offensively strong up against them, getting more touchdowns in that game compared to the Cowboys. So that's what I'm seeing. That's what I believe is going to happen, because where the Cowboys can really win in the rushing area, the Falcons are going to win in the air. And fly like a falcon, that's going to be the model for them at the moment, because every single one of their players can receive, as far as I see. So, Cowboys can beat the Seahawks, but I don't think they're going to beat the Falcons. Then comes the Minnesota Vikings versus the Green Bay Packers divisional matchup. Packers are going to lose to the Vikings again. I believe they'll beat them in Week 16 as a form of revenge and better analysis, I should say. But divisional, I think the Vikings will just come back. Okay, you got us out one time. You obviously did your homework. Now let's pull this on you. I don't know what it'll pull, but I think the Vikings can get them. So that would end the Packers season right there in the division. Conference matchups. First off, I would say the Minnesota Vikings would lose to the Falcons. Reason being is this: the O-line for the Falcons is proving that defenses are having a tough time getting to Matt Ryan. It's either that or Matt is just able to sling that ball out fast, because his runners, his receivers, his ends, they can all receive the ball too quick for them to be caught off guard, and he has too many targets. Plus, the run game is just as good. So, I don't see them losing to the Vikings, and I think they'll make it to the Super Bowl, thus ending the Vikings run at it, which I previously thought would make the Super Bowl. Then comes Steelers versus the Patriots, and I can't say the Steelers are going to be able to beat them. The Steelers are great all the way around. The Patriots are just as good, but with the slight edge everywhere. Defense, offense, coaching. Their only weakness compared to the Steelers would be kicking. Because for some reason Gostkowski is missing a lot. I don't understand. But I don't think it's going to really contribute to them losing any points up against the Steelers. That being the case, I say it'll probably be a very, very close game. Like, probably less than a field goal. If anything, a 1-point difference. But I still think the Patriots will beat the Steelers in the conference matchup going to the Super Bowl. And as far as the Super Bowl goes, I believe the Patriots will in fact beat the Falcons in the end, because where the Falcons have been able to fly over everyone's defense, the problem with going up against Patriots defense is the fact that they will know what you're doing. And offensively, I don't think you can stop them. There's no way you can stop them. If they're the Falcons, it's not happening. And that is my predictions for, as of right now, from week 5. And hopefully the music made everything a little bit better. But in the meantime, this is Fireknight 3, signing out.